Hi, Prof. De Leon. How are you?
Fine. Nice to be with you again.
Yes, great to be here with you on our Wellness Wednesday topic, Art of Persuasion. Prof, and I'm very excited because I've heard you discuss this before, and I'm happy that we're doing this on this platform that can be accessed by everyone.
Of
So
course,
yeah,
that it can be used by many people.
yes.
Uh,
So let's get the ball rolling. Why the art of persuasion, and how is it a practical? How practical is it in the new normal?
It's very practical because, in a way, you approach people according to how they think, according to how they feel, and you do not force anything on them. Because you cannot change the mind of another person by contradicting them on all turns, contradicting them at every turn. So we really have to make sure that we empathize with the person, understand how the person looks at life, how the person understands ideas or behavior, understand things around them. That's why the secret of persuasion is empathy. We have to be able to feel and think just like the other person we are trying to persuade with our with our ideas, with our insights. So the best way to persuade really is not to confront, not to oppose, um, not to be a person who always brings up a contrary argument, because every person will think she or he is right. No, every person is right on what uh, the kind of truth. No, that a person sees is always right. No, because every person sees a particular kind of truth, except that this truth may not be complete. So
Mhm.
whatever the reality the person sees, we confirm it, but we tell this person that that is not the complete reality. In other words, the kind of view that this person has will always be right according to how this person sees reality, but that's not the only reality. Truth is has two sides. Uh, Whichever side this person is on, he is right there, but he may not see the other side. So we will not tell the person that he is wrong. No, we will just tell him that, well, what you see is right, but then there's the other side. So you don't tell the person that he is wrong, but just that what he sees is incomplete. Because when you tell the person that what he sees is incomplete, that will not hurt. That will not hurt, because no person can claim that he or she sees everything, because we know that all of us cannot see the whole of reality. So we can persuade the person that, okay, you're quite right, but then there's the other side. Maybe you can consider the other side. And if you do it with sincerity, without trying to conquer, in other words, without trying to make it appear that you are the victor and he is the loser, then the person will side with you. No? Because it's better to persuade people according to how they look at reality, and not according to how you look at reality. Okay, uh, you uh, use a particular approach that complements or affirms, no, how they see life. Not that you tell them that they are right, uh, because people like to believe that what they see is correct, no? That they like to view reality according to how they have discovered it, not according to how other minds, how other people have discovered reality. So this is a very good quotation from Blaise Pascal.
Why Blaise Pascal, by the way, Prof? Kasi yung usually yung materials na encounter ko from you would be quoting him, especially on matters like the art of persuasion.
Because Blaise Pascal was a complete, well, he was some kind of a Renaissance person. he was not just a mathematician. At that time, many people were interested in many different subjects. No, they were mathematicians, philosophers, psychologists at the same time. So he was quite ahead, and so he was able to discover some basic principles of persuasion. So here, this is what I was saying. No, the surest way of defeating the, well, not necessarily erroneous, but incomplete views of others is not by bombarding them, um, um, bombarding them with, well, you are wrong, no, you are not correct, because they feel they are right. So how do we convince them? Well, we will say that their point of view is on one side, there is the other side, or there are more sides, no? So you do not really like to conquer the other person you're trying to persuade. Your aim is to really show the entire truth, the whole truth. That's why it's really empathy that is very necessary in order to persuade the other person. You uh, try to use the Filipino approach of making the other person feel that he is a kapwa, that you are one, and therefore you are able to achieve some kind of rapport, makikipagpalagay ang loob. And that person will begin to see your point of view to complement his. That is really so we actually maybe we are even ahead because the concept of kapwa came before Blaise Pascal. The concept of kapwa is ancient in our culture, and the
Yeah.
concept of kapwa says that we become one with the other person so that the other person will see our own views. Because if you are not one with the other person, then you will be outsiders to one another. And this person will not see the way you look at the world, and you will not see also the way the other person looks at the world. But when you become one, you can see the world together in both sides, from both sides.
Would
That
you
is
say
really
that this is somehow a dangerous skill to have kasi or knowledge to have? Kasi pag alam ng tao na you just have to be agreeable, they can definitely manipulate the situation.
well, because people are not easily fooled by some kind of artificial, insincere approach. Because people will, that's why there has to be real empathy, because the other person will feel that you're only manipulating. It's easy for another person to feel that you are just manipulating him or her, because your body language will reveal whether you are sincere or not. That's why you really have to become one with the other person. And there are, especially in Filipino culture, Filipinos are very sensitive to being manipulated. If you are just manipulating the person, that other person will be distance, will distance away from you, and you will not be able to convince that person. There's really a way for you to become one with the other person, so
And
that the other person will not think that you are manipulating
yeah,
him.
for someone who studied this extensively, Prof, could you give tips para, kasi as we discussed the art of persuasion, tips on how to detect if the other person is manipulating you against or against your will ba, or you end up getting drawn to a person who has bad intentions.
This is not even a question of manipulation. If you really like to make the other person see the whole truth, because it's just showing the other person the other side. So if you can persuade the person to see the other side, then that other person will be enriched. No? He will be making that other person more complete, and I don't think that other person will see it as manipulation, unless you are trying to argue, because it's not really a form of argument. It's trying to make the other person see all the sides. So this is not really some kind of winning an argument or imposing your beliefs on the other person, simply because um, there's no way the other person can be convinced if that other person feels that you are just manipulating him. There really has to be true empathy. I think it's not a question of manipulation.
And in that regard, Prof, language really plays a role, no?
Ah, yes, of course. This is,
In
and yeah, look at the importance of language, because the moment you use a language that is not in accord with the thinking of the other person, then you will have no oneness. You will have you will not be able to communicate. This is this is why you must able to synchronize not only your body language but even the verbal or even the written languages, so that you will be fully understood. And this is the reason why you cannot talk to many Filipinos in the provinces if you use the language of the cities and vice versa, because the words will have different connotations in each case. That's why you may be rebuffed by the other person you're trying to persuade in the beginning, because you may not be using the right body language or the right words, or you may be using wrong using the wrong connotations, or maybe that you do not understand the connotations of the other person. That's why you may be rebuffed in the beginning. That's why Pascal says that you have to have some kind of buoyancy. By buoyancy, what he means by that is you have to be able to recover. You have to be able to develop flexibility, even if you are rejected. You must try again and again until you are understood. So
that's a very
you must.
strong point, Prof. So, in considering that one's ability to persuade is a skill that can be developed,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
always the chance na you will be uh, you will be met with negation. So kailangan marunong ka talagang mag-bounce back.
Ah, yes, of course. It's really a skill, because no, I don't think anyone is born with this. Well, maybe some people are born with this natural skill to explain very clearly, but really you have to develop it. That's why your company, like Talkshop, exists to make people more uh, capable linguistically, psychologically, intellectually, in order to be able to use language very well, no? Or to have all those skills to communicate with people. Otherwise, it will be useless. I don't think a stevedore or a garbage collector can easily communicate with somebody from Makati who is an
Yeah.
office worker in Makati. They talk very different languages. So you must be able to adjust, really.
And
You must
like
be able
many,
to,
yeah, like many
yes.
skills, Prof, kailangan talaga ng mga techniques, no?
Oh, yes. Oh. This requires a lot ng klaseng techniques
Mm.
for everybody. So it is really very, very correct. People are generally better persuaded by the reasons which they themselves have discovered than by those which have come in the demand of others. Ito, well, make sure that the person sees that he is not mistaken and that he only failed to see all sides. Yun na nga eh, because he never tell the other person that they are mistaken, because that will be resented, and you will, well, the person will react. The ego will react. You know? And that means the person will already close his mind towards you. Uh, you will have well have to try another avenue
This
to
is
pursue.
this is very strong, Prof, kasi it somehow gives emphasis to the inclusive language, eh, na kailangan i-involve mo yung ibang tao, and you don't sound dismissive,
Ah, yes.
end up repelling them, no?
Arrogance is out of the question here,
Mm.
because you have to really regard the other person even as higher than you, because you're trying to enter the other person's, well, inner being, and so you have to be as humble as possible. In fact, silence is very important at times, because actually the other person would like to feel that he or she is appearing as very, very agreeable. No person would like to uh, give you the impression that there's something wrong with him. In other words, every person would like to make a good impression. No? so that I think, well, you don't have to flatter, but make sure that you make the other person more comfortable in your presence by complimenting whenever there is a reason to compliment, or praising if there is really a need to praise. In other words, make the other person feel good in your presence. And that is a skill that you have to develop. It's not
I'm
easy.
I'm reminded, Prof, by many politicians as they run for office or as they campaign during elections. Talagang maririnig mo yung language of humility and servitude, no? It's something that really appeals to the electorate. Kesa yung magyabang sila kung ano yung na-accomplish nila, kung ano yung meron sila. Bihira ang maririnig
Yes,
nangangampanya na may ganung
exactly.
yabang.
Exactly. That's why we have observed now, because we help ASI helped. Remember, ASI helped. Well, did some kind of research to help some politicians understand the needs of their constituents.
True.
And one mayor campaign. Well, before he became mayor, he did not promise anything. He just said that I cannot promise you anything, but I promise you that I will do my best when I'm already in that post. You just promise to do your best. You don't have to promise the moon and the stars. In other words, when you are really humble, you cannot claim that you can do this in 3 years or 6 months, or that's too much, because nobody can guarantee that you will be successful in 3 months or 6 months or even 3 years. So you just promise that you'll try your best, be as humble as possible, and you will have more votes than other politicians. So I was saying that no one is offended at not saying everything, but one does not like to admit that he is mistaken, because generally uh, we, we know that we cannot say everything, but we don't want to be, well, told that you cannot say everything. So you just say that, oh, there are other sides. No, this is the best way.
So it's
Blaise Pascal. These are the words of Blaise Pascal, who was
so
a
if you want to
mathematician.
persuade another person, you still have to affirm or even validate him kahit alam mo na may isang anggulo ka na ipipresent sa kanya that's totally opposite from his
Yeah, of course. Yes,
beliefs.
this is in agreement. This is in full agreement with the concept of kapwa, where you affirm what can be affirmed. Try to find the good, no? As much as follow, trying to find the good, or whatever that good is, maski nakakonti lang, try to find the good in the other person. And that's how you can connect with the other person. And from there, you can go on to look at other possible sides, which can be turned into something positive for your relationship. So that the more you are able to make the other person see the other side, then you'll have more connection with that person. This is really one of the most important
I'm
techniques for.
reminded, Prof,
Uh,
by one language framework that you taught us, yung kiss, kick, kiss, yung sandwich
yes, yes. Oh,
principle.
and anyway, actually, I talk about that. But in Filipino psychology, the concept of kapwa says that when we try to relate to another person, try to find what you can appreciate in that person. And we are centuries ahead of this sociological perspective. A recent methodology in sociology is called appreciative inquiry. And that's what appreciative inquiry is all about. When you are trying to help a company, uh, well, develop, no? When you are trying to help a company grow, you find what works in the company, what is functional, what the strength of the company is. Don't bother to find out what the weaknesses are. Just concentrate on the strengths and make them stronger, so that if the weaknesses will naturally disappear. No, this is the sociological methodology of appreciative inquiry. And in Philippine culture, this is further reinforced by the technique for convincing another person, or um, making the other person see your point without hurting this person, or um, be able to criticize, especially the other person, without arousing ire, no, without arousing that person's ire or anger. This is called the kiss, kick, kiss approach, or Puri plus Puri. I call it PPP or KKK. Kiss,
Oh,
kick,
oh.
kiss, or Puri Pintas Puri. Because
Mm.
um, if you like to criticize, you're a boss or you're a manager or you're just a colleague, and you like to help your coworker improve his work, then you point out something good about what this person is doing. Look, you did so well in analysis of our problem yesterday. But I think you can improve the analysis by pointing to by looking at problems number 6 and number 7 instead of just concentrating on problems 1 to 5. No, but you really did well because even our boss was very happy about what you did. So this is an example of kiss, kick, kiss. You point out what is good, but at the same time you try to point out what is lacking, and then you again compliment it at the person with another kiss, with another puri. This is really Filipino psychology, and it's very effective. Because if you just criticize, the person will get angry. But if you just praise and praise, well, the person will think that you're just flattering him. Very
Yeah.
Filipino. Puri,
So
pintas,
it has to
puri.
be a balance. It really has to be a balance, no, Prof.
Yeah, there is
And
a balance. This is really very Filipino because very Filipino because so we are a holistic people. We cannot separate the person from the work. Our our work uh, is not separate from the person. That's why when you criticize, actually when you are criticizing the work of a person, you're also criticizing the person simply because we don't separate our work from ourselves. Unlike in an American culture where the work or the activity is different, is separate from the person. You may criticize the work without the person feeling that he is being criticized. But in our culture, you cannot separate the work from the person. They are one and the same because we are a holistic culture. That's why you have to balance the criticism with praise or compliment. That's Philippine culture. So really, persuasion is not trying to control the others, but you are trying to uh, empathize, no? Because you empathize in such a way that you begin to understand and even inspire the other person because the other person will feel that you are affirming his being. You're affirming what the other person is all about. So yung parang nahuli niyo yung kiliti ng tao and you even can inspire that person. Once this person is inspired by you, then you can put in anything. You can inject anything that you like
yeah,
because we are now coming from a position of oneness.
yeah.
This is aesthetics actually. In a general from a general framework, this is aesthetics. That is really um, what what aesthetics says, because aesthetics is anything that opens the mind.
Mm. I,
Uh,
I I like that concept, Prof. Kasi when you're already in that level of communication and understanding, you end up pointing the other person to a direction where he's able to see something that you have not even pondered
so
on.
yeah, I've not even thought about before.
Yeah,
Exactly. In other words, you benefit. You both of you benefit from it. You see the other person's point of view because you may not have that from the beginning, and then that other person also sees his point of view.
yeah,
Now I'm just added that this is also aesthetic. Why? Because anything aesthetic does three things. It opens perception, it hastens understanding, and it makes you remember. So I always say PUR. It heightens awareness or perception.
Perception.
It makes possible understanding and aids memory, or you are able to remember. And one of the more important aesthetic techniques is humor. Humor, no? Because humor is a unity of opposites. It's a unity of opposites. Humor always contains something predictable and something that is not predictable.
Mhm.
That's always the case of humor. Some you use both predictable and unpredictable. The element of surprise is always there. That's why you laugh. And anything that contains the unity of opposites opens the mind. I'm sure you know this very well. When your audience is a little bored, then you introduce some kind of a joke or something humorous, and the mind opens again, and you can continue uh, giving your talk because the mind is open again, simply because you put in something aesthetic. This is true for all of art that uses aesthetics. It opens the mind. The arts are the super channels of communication. Nothing beats the arts when it comes to being a super channel of communication, because the arts use aesthetics to the highest level. That's why when you like people to remember, you use poetry rather than prose. Or if you like the people to remember more, put music to that poetry. Or if they still can't remember, put not only poetry and music, but dance it, because you are now adding more aesthetic levels. That's why the most persuasive things will be spiritual, because ritual includes poetry, music, and dance. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that in the new year. Ritual,
Yeah. Oo nga, exciting yung mga upcoming
exciting.
talks. But I,
So it's
I
really
like what you said, yung unity of opposites talaga, that
okay.
humor
Look,
consists of
you
elements
know,
of surprise and
element of
familiarity.
surprise. For example, I'll give you something that really will open a mind. No, Paderewski, Ignaz Paderewski, a Polish pianist who became the president of Poland in the 1920s, was playing for matrons one time. You know, these matrons are very ignorant about music. So one time he was playing a Beethoven sonata, and one matron, you know, what this was in the 1920s, already 20th century. And you know, Beethoven died in the 18th century. He died in 1717, no, 1770s, I think. He died, no, long ago. But one matron, while Paderewski was playing a Beethoven sonata, this matron asked, "Whose composition is that?" "Oh, it's," Paderewski answered, "it's a sonata of Beethoven." The matron asked, followed up with another question, "Does he still compose?" Wow, I was so ignorant about Beethoven. So no, you know the answer of Paderewski? No, he is decomposing. That was that. No, normally you would think that well, no, he's because he died long ago. Normally a predictable answer with a predictable answer is no, sorry, he died long ago. But you know how he answered? He said no, he is decomposing, because he was a little irritated that this method did not know anything about Beethoven. So he
Mm,
said, oh no, he is decomposing. You did not predict that answer. That is humorous. It
yeah.
opens the mind. A
Yes.
very interesting answer.
And
That's
it's,
humor.
yeah, instead of embarrassing the patron, no.
Instead of something boring, a predictable answer that he died long ago, so he can no longer compose. He said, no, he's decomposing. So it's a
Humor,
unity of opposites.
humor talaga,
Predictability
Prof,
and
is
surprise.
it is a sign of intelligence, no?
Oh
That's why
yes,
it's
of course.
very easy to be
No, humor.
convincing,
You know,
persuasive.
if you are not intelligent, you cannot have wit. You cannot have humor. Only the most intelligent, like Charlie Chaplin, can do humor.
Yeah,
You are not. You can only be capable of slapstick humor, which is toilet humor. That's not really humor.
that's
That's
right.
unintelligent humor. Humor is of the highest caliber. requires the highest kind of intelligence and creativity, of course.
Mhm.
This is really one of the most important things for persuasion. You have to have a sense of humor so that you can persuade, because that opens the mind always. When people laugh, oh, their minds are already open.
Yes.
You can inject almost anything when they are laughing.
The defenses are minimized.
Oh, yes. So, so we can look at. So this is what I was saying. No, we must put ourselves in the place of those who are to hear us, and we'll make sure that this other person is ready to hear our side. Well, we can only say that this person is ready when we feel that we are one. No, so that we have to feel whether the person is already inclined to agree or not. We can feel that if we are sensitive, if we are trained, if we are skilled, we can feel whether the other person is ready to hear us or not. Especially when we feel that we are one, that when we can see clearly the other person's point of view, and that other person can feel our inner being, then we are ready to say our point, to persuade. This is really Pascal's
Mhm.
genius. No?
Is this is this something that can also be developed? Are there people who are naturally good at putting themselves in the shoes or in the place of those who are hearing
Ah,
them?
yes, because Carl Jung says that people are either born with, well, they're psychological types, either a thinking type, an intuitive type, a sensing type, a judging type, or a feeling part. People who are very good in pakikiramdam or who are very good in social intelligence, I think, are, well, are naturals, no? They are born with this. But you can, I don't think other people are ready forever barred from becoming skilled, because it's a matter of training. You can always, there is a psychological finding that if you train yourself so well in one thing, in 10 years, you can even be a genius in that thing. If you persist, if you're so determined, you can even surpass the natural geniuses in this, because those who are precautious usually are maybe too lazy to develop their skills, because they
That
are, yeah,
yeah.
uh,
That
they may have
reminds
some
me, Prof.
natural skills, but if they don't develop this, they will not be able to do this, to do it.
Yung cases of narcissism, sociopaths, psychopaths, they are the ones who have really really
Difficult.
um, studied, no, how empathy can be projected para
Yes.
para magawa na ma-embody talaga nila whatever they
Uh,
want
but
others to
actually,
feel.
the psychopaths and the narcissists have other problems. Have other problems.
Mhm.
Uh, it's not easy to persuade them unless we also can look into the reason why they are narcissists and why they are psychopaths, or bullies, just like the psychology of bullies. Uh, because when they were children, they really didn't feel unconditional love from others. That's why they really lack this kind of attention, lack of affirmation of their being. So they develop some kind of, well, psychopathology, trying to compensate for this loss. So they became narcissists or egomaniacs or egocentrics. And unconditional love. If only one person can show some kind of unconditional care or unconditional love, um, you lessen this narcissism. I recommend, I don't know if it is available in the internet, but I can recommend for people to watch the movie Batteries Not Included. Batteries Not Included, because there's one bully there, or almost a narcissist, who was cured because there was one grandmother, a very loving grandmother, who gave him unconditional love.
Wow.
A
Yung
grandmother
ano
who was
pala yan,
a,
narcissism, Prof, can be cured.
I think so. I think so. Oh, you just have to be patient.
Oh.
You just have to be
Unconditional
patient.
love talaga yung intervention mo.
Oh, unconditional love. Um, Once that person feels that there person, that's another who can affirm the very core of his being, the very reason why he exists, then can be cured.
Mhm.
Although it takes
Bagay.
some it
Kasi
takes some
katulad ng mga most of the stories of diagnosed narcissists have to do with them being isolated when they were young, left
oh,
out. Um,
isolated.
oo.
They felt depressed, no,
Mm.
isolated. Their lives seemed so unimportant, no? Especially those who were abandoned by their parents or who were orphaned at a very early age,
Yeah.
just taken care of by brothers or other relatives or orphanages. So really, yes.
So since it's a
And also,
disorder, oh, Prof, since it's a disorder, while it cannot be cured, it can be lessened. Magandang
of course, it can be mitigated. It can be mitigated. Now, there's also something wrong with the educational system because our educational system, this is really one of the most serious problems. In fact, I like to really devote some time to this. Our educational system destroys, really suppresses the autonomy of children because children, human beings, like to direct their own lives. We do not like other people to impose on us what we will become, what we should become. We like to be self-directed, but the self-directedness is suppressed by schools from the youngest age until the time they graduate from college. They lose the ability to become self-directed. They become passive. And this passiveness results in violence,
yes.
results in all kinds of psychopathology.
Oo.
This is one reason. People become passive. They no longer are able. They no longer are very creative. You know, children from the age of, well, from day one to grade to 7 years old are very very creative. When they graduate college, this creativity of 80% or 90% is reduced to around 3 or 4% according to studies.
It's very sad actually, Prof, no, that as they are sent to school to build their confidence, self-esteem, creativity, these very things are compromised because of the
Because
quality of education.
yeah, because our education system forces people to conform to the status quo. What if the creative urge of the student of the person has nothing to do with the status quo? What if this person is quite queer or eccentric according to the establishment? Then this person will have no chance to develop as he is or as she is.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is what I was saying earlier. People like to be pleased. People like you to be pleased with them. Men and women do not care to admire you because when we are talking to somebody, don't expect this other person to always be a fan, you know, or don't expect this other person to always admire us. So, because they wish you to be pleased with them instead. They do not seek for instruction or even amusement from your discourse, but they do wish you to be made acquainted with their talents. In other words, if we are empathetic enough, we have to discover what they are good at. As I said, uh, if we discover what they are good at, then we are communicating. We are connecting with what we can really relate to in them. We can just really try to point out what is good about them. Not necessarily a genius, not necessarily powers, but there must be something in them that we can admire. So if we are skilled, no, if we are skilled in the art of persuasion, we will delicately make all who come into contact with us, no, those who come in contact with us, we can make them feel that they have appeared to us with great advantage. That they have shown us who they are as worthy people. They have shown to us that they are dignified, that they are worthy of our admiration. No, that's how we should make other people feel. We should make them feel that they are worthy of our admiration. How do we do that? By finding what is good in them. Uh, this is called, in sociology, this is called appreciative inquiry. appreciative inquiry, explore. Well, you have to find out what is good in them and what can be appreciated, what can make them feel worthy. Are we skilled enough to find what is worthy in another person? Because everybody likes us to have a good impression of them. And without the need to really flatter or to manipulate, if we are sincere in really finding out what is good in everybody, then that will be the art of persuasion because the other person will become one with us.
Yeah. This
Uh,
is this is really something that educators, parents have to strongly consider, no, Prof?
Oo,
Yung dimensions ng persuasion and how it can positively impact the
society.
younger generation,
Yes,
especially.
oo. And you can look at the main items in in the elements, the main items of persuasion according to Pascal. So I was saying that enter the other person's point of view. You become one with the other person's point of view. That's called attunement. And I was saying that, well, of course, because you may not speak the language of the other person in the beginning, you may be a stranger, you may belong to another social class or category, you may have a status that is so different from the other. So you may be rejected, you may be rebuffed in the beginning, but you have to be flexible. You have to be resilient. It's called by Pascal buoyancy. But again, you have to be very good in communication because it's not easy to convey information if we do not use very clear language. So clarity lies at the heart of persuasion, influencing and moving people. So it's a skill that you have to develop. Maybe I can recommend that this person who likes to persuade must study in talk shop, must take up courses with you, so that this person will know how to communicate very clearly and
Yeah,
with the concise use of language, because your language must not be over flowery, must not be full of flattery, must be exact as much as possible. So these are the three elements of persuasion,
yeah.
according to.
I like very much the fact that clarity lies at the this lies at the heart of persuading,
Exactly. This
influencing.
is the most important.
Oo.
Clarity, because you are making the other person see both sides, see the other side or more sides than what he has.
Yeah,
So pag malabo, how can that a person see the other side?
that's right.
And seeing the other side means that you are not trying to conquer that other person. You just say, oh, look, there's the other side of the river pala. We're here on one side. Okay, let's just cross that river to see the other side. Meron nga palang other side.
Yeah. And
And
I
maybe
like the fact, Prof, I like the fact that if you're not sincere, if you're not authentic, you will not be able to persuade. Yeah, it maybe you can persuade the person for a limited time, but you cannot sustain it.
yeah, you
It's
can
not
just say
going to
it.
be in the long term.
You will be found. You'll be found out.
Yeah.
You'll be found, yung as manipulative or fake.
Mhm.
Yes. So this is about persuasion, but it's not enough to persuade. According to this, you have to have the another aspect of persuasion. Maybe you can go to the next aspect of this. Here, this is now related to a very long-term approach to persuasion, because when you put in the money aspect, when you there are two things. When you put in um, the money aspect, or what you call punishment and reward, the carrot and stick method of making other people do what you like them to do, then you cannot persuade. Uh, let's look at this statement from Dan Pink. It's a very good book called Drive, because his basic question is what motivates people. He is saying that when you link the profit motive to the purpose motive, bad things happen. I'll give you examples. in the next, you can say that I was saying these are the three elements of motivation, and you cannot separate the three elements of motivation from the three elements of persuasion. Because, as I said earlier, why do you have to look at the side of the other person? Because that side is the side where the person thinks he is on his own. Doon siya self-directed kasi yun ang pananaw niya. So from that side, doon nandun yung autonomy niya. No? What he sees, the kind of reality that the person sees is from his own volition, is from the direction of his life na yun ang nakita niya. So this is autonomy. Give grant the person, no, the benefit of his own point of view that he is directing his own life. This is very important. Affirm that the person is on his own. Affirm that the person is directing his own life, and we cannot we cannot make the person follow what we like, or we cannot persuade the person. No? If we don't give the person this kind of autonomy, because this autonomy cannot be linked to anything outside it. I'll explain, no? Because I'll give examples. And these are the three elements of motivation: autonomy, mastery, or something that is within us that makes us want to develop a particular skill. And purpose, the sense that what we do produces something transcendent or serves something meaningful beyond ourselves. Um, these are the three things that are very, very important in understanding why people do what they do. No? People do what they do because there is a kind of self-directedness that makes them do things without people telling them to do this, to do what they like to do. Because the moment you impose, yes, here, this is what I was saying earlier. The moment you impose on another person what you like them to do, then you are not respecting the autonomy of that person, and the person may no longer follow you. I don't think you can really persuade the person if that person feels that you are imposing on him. And I can give you examples. Like, can we look at the next slide here? There are very good examples here. For here, look, because it's very hard to explain these three: autonomy, mastery, and purpose without examples. There's a hospital where people where people well who had COVID, and doctors treating them, and this is a very busy hospital. Not only for COVID, but other kinds of diseases. But many doctors have become negligent. Most of the time, they fail to wash their hands. And we know how important hand hygiene is in order to lessen infection from COVID. But no matter how the hospital administration tried to warn the doctors that, well, you are not really helping the hospital by not washing your hands. So much infection happens because you are not washing your hands. But no matter what they say, the doctors fail to wash their hands properly. So there was an experiment where three uh, three posters were displayed all over the hospital. These are the three posters. One, within 2 weeks, the first one, hand hygiene prevents you from catching diseases. No? It prevents you from catching diseases. They tried this for 2 weeks. And still, the doctors did not wash their hands. Hand hygiene prevents patients from catching diseases. They tried this for another 2 weeks. And then again, for another 2 weeks, they tried gel in, wash out. What do you think? Which do you think persuaded the doctors to wash their hands frequently?
Siguro yung third one, Prof, naiiba siya.
Gel in, wash out. This was the least successful. Gel in, wash out was the least successful.
Oh.
Because it seems like a command.
Mm-hmm.
Gel in, wash out.
Walang humanity, no? Parang...
Not only that, doctors or people don't like to be commanded, that they don't like to be told what to do. And they don't care if they catch diseases more than their patients. You know, the most successful is the second one. Mm-hmm. Hand hygiene prevents patients from catching diseases. Because why are they there in the first place? They are there to really cure patients. But if they do not do anything to prevent patients from catching diseases, what are they doing there? In other words, the second one connects their being doctors to their mission as doctors. The purpose is already implied in the second one. Their purpose in being medical practitioners is there in the second one, but not in the first one. Their purpose as doctors is not implied in the first one. Prevents you from catching diseases. Oh, what? That's not connected to their mission. The second one is connected to their mission. Hand hygiene prevents patients from catching diseases. So they are reminded of their mission. Yeah. Their activity now is connected with their purpose. Well, the third one,
yeah.
The third one has nothing to do. The third one has nothing to do with their purpose. It's even unclear what it means. Really out. So the most successful, the second one really reduced, reduced the number of doctors not washing hands. Many doctors obeyed. Many doctors really obeyed the instruction.
There's a striking example, Prof. Kasi from the three elements of motivation that you mentioned earlier, autonomy, mastery, purpose, to this example, yung glaring truth is that everyone wants to do good, wants to be better,
exactly.
wants to be able to contribute.
And no, this is really something very, very, very striking, because there is really very, most people think that other people are selfish except themselves. Most people think that they are not selfish, but others are, without realizing that others are also not really selfish. You may think that you are not selfish, but you will think that most people think that other people are selfish except themselves, without realizing that other people are also not selfish. We just have to give them a situation to be selfless. Now, look at the second example. There was a call center in the US which really raised funds to help two kinds of people. They raised funds to help workers who have retired or who are no longer connected with them. They included in their messages, they bombarded their call centers. Call center. They bombarded messages addressed to the public. Their call centers were bombarded with messages talking about how the former workers benefited from the fundraising activity of the call center. Because the call center raised funds to benefit former workers. The former workers were saying, oh, because of the benefit I got from this call center, I was able to raise my children well, I have them educated, and I became a professional because of the help of this call center. Okay, the next kind of campaign, the other campaign where the call centers really publicly publicly announced, no, how how those who used how those who people who were um, beneficiaries of messages beneficiaries of messages from the call center, beneficiaries of the funds raised by the call center became professionals because of the funds because of the funds that we got from you. I became a very good nurse. Because of the funds I got from you, I'm now a medical practitioner in this hospital. This is about how the call center helped people become. These were not employees. These were not employees of call centers. These are people who were helped by the funds raised by the call center, and how they became professionals um, was publicly made available by the publicized by the call center. You know, because of this last uh, publication of messages from the call center were able to raise funds 3 times more than they were able to raise earlier from just publicizing how their former workers benefited from the funds raised by the call center. This is really something that has to do with purpose. Not only because the funds raised by the call center help more people to become professionals, help people in their lives. And these are not at all employees of the call center. That means this was connected to a higher purpose. This is really the meaning of purpose. If you are able to, well, master some skills, that's okay. No? But this mastery of skills has to be used to benefit other people, to benefit the public
And
for a higher
used and
purpose.
articulated, no, Prof? The articulation is very important. Tulad itong mga cases, uh, the way the language is used in order to draw out the right motivation
Oo,
and to
exactly,
enhance the purpose.
exactly. You can see mo, no? When you connect the activity, the fundraising, no, you don't just give money, no, because if you just give money, okay, uh, you are not respect. Well, look, I'm giving you money for as a reward for what you did, no. But money given as reward or punishment seems to be monetizing the relationship. The moment you monetize the relationship, bad things happen because you are no longer giving the person autonomy. You're treating the person as if this person is somebody who is materialistic uh, and will not act without money. That's why the person has to have autonomy, and then the mastery the mastery is very important because when you respect the autonomy of the person and help this person achieve this autonomy uh, by helping this person even through money, no, without directing the person to become this or that, then the person will become a master of a particular skill, and we better able to achieve purpose. The third aspect of what we call helping people. No?
So
Helping
without a
people.
doubt, Prof, in harnessing one's ability to persuade, the bigger consideration should be on internal motivation instead of the external.
The bigger drive should be uh, on concentrating, focusing on what purpose, whether it's purpose with a capital P or purpose with a small p, the person is making. Purpose with a capital P is like, well, I'm helping my nation, uh, I'm helping my nation improve its economy. I'm helping society achieve achieve its long-term goals. I'm helping invent something that will improve human technology. These are big purposes. But a little purpose is like asking, am I contributing anything to my office? What is my contribution to our company? What is my contribution to this school? That's a small purpose with a small p. But even then, even that small p is enough to inspire a person to do something. You must be able to give a person a reason to contribute. This is purpose with a small p, and that is one that will motivate a person. If you are able to uh, make a person well develop some kind of contribution, no matter how small, that will inspire the person really to do what you like him to do.
That's why empathy and empathetic conversation is very important, no, Prof? Because it's different
Oh,
for different people.
yes, exactly. And look at these cases; these are very important. No, the moment you just the moment you just give money as a form of reward and punishment and not connect it to higher purpose, it will not work. It will not work. So when it comes to the Filipino way, this is the last slide, no? Look at our paligoy-ligoy. Makataong pakikitungo. This is a very good way of making the other person feel as an insider. Huwag lalapitan ng isang tao kung kailan lang may kailangan kayo. It's very important, especially in the Philippines. Huwag mangungumusta kung mangungumusta kayo, talagang kumusta lang, wala nang kasunod. Many people whom we have not seen for a long, long time, suddenly mangungumusta yung pala may kailangan pera. Very important for people, especially for Filipinos, visit somebody, your friend. Kung may kailangan kayo sa friend nyo, don't visit that friend just because may kailangan kayo. Visit him, visit her, and we just appreciate, just try to have some kind of well, coffee or conversation. That's all. Leave and then come back another time. That's another time when you really can express your need, but not in the beginning. Then when you try to greet that person, it should not be loaded. Huwag mo sa kung may kailangan kayo kaagad. Kailangan wala lang kasunod. Just, kamusta? That's all. No? And then, thirdly, this is very important. That's why paligoy-ligoy is very important. That's why it's very humane. Bago magsabi ng kailangan, alamin muna ang kalagayan ng kapwa. Baka siya pa ang mas nangangailangan. Because that's why Filipinos, when they see somebody because they need something, they don't immediately tell what they need. Kumusta ka? How are you? How's your family? And how's your business? You know, the other person, if this other person is a problem, he will at once tell you, oh, nalugi ako, my company just got closed and I'm looking for a job right now. Or my house just got robbed. Yung pala siya ang nangangailangan, hindi kayo. When you begin to understand the other person's needs or his situation, then you make the other person feel one with you. No? Because you're not just a grasping person, just because you need something, you greet him, you go there. You make the person feel that you are one with him until that other person senses your oneness, and he will be the first one to ask, "Oh, about you, how about you? Do you need anything?" Yan. Makinig siya sa kanyang kalooban, kalagayan, hanggang magkapalagayan loob kayo. Hanggat maaari, siya na ang hintayin mo magtanong kung ano ang kailangan mo. Because when you already become one with Him, nagkapalagayan loob na kayo, then He will begin to wonder, oh, we may be needing something. Baka may kailangan ka. That is the meaning of paligoy-ligoy. You just do not just impose yourself. This is ancient in our culture. And because this is really very much that of Blaise Pascal's advice, become one with the other person, see the person from that point, from that person's point of view, baka mas siya pa ang nangangailangan kaysa sa kayo. So, when you realize that that other person is more needy than you are, so huwag niyo nang ituloy yung paghingi niyo ng favor. That's the reason for paligoy-ligoy, because you may find out that that other person is more needy than you are, because you are able to see that the other person's side. Because this is really a more developed Pascal art of persuasion. Ours is much more developed and more ancient than that of Pascal.
Ito ay all of this, Prof. It's so glaring that if you just have the heart to listen or to empathize with the other person, magagawa mo to talaga eh. Because
Yes, magagawa mo ito talaga.
oo. And if you're
Until you forget your original goal.
yeah, if you're indifferent to what others are feeling, then you will violate all of these things. And no matter how good you are, how clear your mind is, you will not be able to persuade them or
Yes.
them against their will.
You know, mga urbanites have forgotten this culture, because it used to be when I was small. This was the ability to become one with others was much stronger, because we never greeted other people by saying, kamusta na ang buhay mo? We always said, kamusta na buhay natin?
True.
We always use natin. Even the wife, kamusta na ang kotse natin? Even the wife, even the husband, kamusta ang asawa natin? We never say, kamusta asawa mo? Yung mo? That was only listening.
On that note, Prof, if I may share, marami kong kaibigan who would tell me, masyadong common ngayon ang magtanong, o buhay ka pa ba? Diba? Napaka-offensive. But if you think about it, if it's coming from if with the right intention, pag sabi, buhay pa tayo, buhay pa ba tayo?
Exactly.
It's not as offensive.
It used to be that palaging ganun, kamusta ang buhay natin? Buhay pa ba tayo? I never heard, when I was small, I never heard yung, kamusta ang school, kamusta ang pag-aaral mo? Kamusta pag-aaral natin? Ganun palagi, natin. Nawawala na yan in the cities.
Yeah.
Kamusta ang, ang pamilya natin? Pamilya natin, hindi yung kamusta ang pamilya mo. Because there's an ownership, common ownership of your family. In the same way that when you become the compare of somebody and you could not attend the wedding or the christening, you ask your brother or somebody else to stand for you. Afterwards, that person is already called compare, even if he is not the real compare. And I'm the godchild na anak ako of a particular person. The children of that person, kinakapatid ko na yun. Yung mga anak ng ninang ko, kinakapatid, tawag na sa akin, kinakapatid. In other words, there's a common, common good, no? Sense of oneness. Hindi lang ako yung inaanak. Kasi parang yung kapatid niya, Ganun na rin, inaanak na rin. Kapatid ko, inaanak na rin. A sense of oneness with
Yeah.
others.
Sa last part, Prof, yung hanggat maaari hintayin mo na siya magtanong kung anong kailangan mo.
Oh. Yeah, that I know. I experienced that. Because there are some moments of silence when the other person feels that you like to say something. Wait for that moment of silence until the other person senses that baka may kailangan ka. Yon, wait for that. That's better than saying, ako, parang may kailangan ako eh. As much as possible, let the other person ask what you need.
Yes. And if the person doesn't ask,
you can continue with more leading questions, leading remarks until that person senses. Oh, I'm sure the other person, kasi Filipinos are very good in pakikiramdam. If that person is also a Filipino, he will feel. Nakukuha sa tingin yan eh. Otherwise, the other person is manhid. No, I'm sure the other person
sa
will.
tingin. And in our current setting, nakukuha sa tone. Kasi online na, Prof, di ba? Yung pakiramdam.
Yes.
Talagang tonality matters greatly.
Pag online, yung mga poses, silences can communicate as much as the sounds.
When it comes to Prof, when it comes to parents persuading their kids to study more or to open up, what is the best way to do it?
When it comes to parents, just I don't recommend sermon. I don't recommend lecturing. I don't recommend castigating or punishing or anything. Just show examples. Just show the best examples. Modeling is the best. Bring your children to concerts, to events. Make your children know high-profile people or geniuses or achievers, or give your children materials that will raise the standard, that will raise your children's standard. Ganyan ang ginawa ko. I brought them to all kinds of cultural activities, fiestas, provincial mga fiestas, rituals, and the best of art, the best of the intellect, showing them paintings, art galleries, and lectures by other people, and as well as fun, as well as fun. Ganito. For me, the most important the most important I have seen, the most effective is phenomenal, not phenomenology. I should like phenomenalism, or ganito lang. I have no word for it. Phenomenalism, maybe. Show the children something phenomenal. I always did that from the very beginning. That's how I raised my children. I showed them everything that is phenomenal. Something that they thought did not exist or could not exist. That makes them makes them feel a sense of wonder about life. Ganito pala ang buhay.
That inspires them to imagine and to create.
Even for example, just yesterday I shared with my children, with my apo, that time-lapse photography of mushrooms and plants growing from seedlings to fully grown plants. Wow, how wonderful this yung time-lapse photography of plants growing until they flower and so on. How wonderful. Even sometimes I even tell them, look, I had a wound yesterday, and how miraculous that this wound healed itself? How do you explain a wound healing itself? Does the body know how to direct the wound so that it closes itself after some time. Imagine these common miracles. I always tell them what a miracle life is all about. Imagine
And the
uh,
younger they are, the more they are drawn to that sense of uh,
sense
wonder.
of wonder.
Yes, I
Uh,
remember. I was sharing the um, a Bible story with my 4-year-old. So
uh,
God made the earth, God made the stars, and tapos na. God rested on the seventh day. And then he asked, so why did God make the insects? And I was prepared, bro.
oh. Ayun na, you can show the ecology, ano, the ecological system, diba? They're all needed, kanya-kanyang role yan eh. And I always no, abide by what Einstein said. Arouse a child's holy curiosity about life, because that will really excite the child to learn about everything. Arouse a sense of wonder, of holy curiosity. But that's not what we are doing in the schools.
Yeah.
In UP there was a chemistry professor. While this is college now, college level, the students were being asked to mix chemicals using their test tubes. And the students, "Oh, how wonderful these colors. We are getting very beautiful colors by mixing these chemicals." You know what the teacher said? Stop wondering about the colors, just get the results that I ask you to get. Just get the result. Never mind about colors. Don't waste your time looking at those colors. Just get the result I expect you to get. And there's, the teacher is really uh, suppressing the sense of wonder. How can we develop scientists? Scientists develop because of this sense of wonder, holy curiosity about life, and you tell them what to do. You're destroying the natural curse. Uh,
Wow.
that's the problem with the educational system. You're imposing, you're destroying the self-directedness. Autonomy is very, very important. The moment you suppress the autonomy, reduce the student into passivity, and the student becomes violent.
That's right.
Violence is caused by suppression of creativity. When you suppress creativity, there are only three avenues left: obsession with power, aggression, obsession with power and pleasure, aggression, and depression. This is according to Eric Fromm. When
And
you suppress
yes,
creativity,
if I may mention, bro, are
uh,
signs of low self-esteem.
our psyche.
Signs of low self-esteem.
Yeah, of course. Signs of What are the signs of low self-esteem? Is well, this is actually an insecure ego. No? Insecure ego results in low self-esteem or an overinflated sense of self. Overinflated sense of self or low self-esteem both arise from an insecure ego. Because an insecure ego comes from feeling of a lack of comes from a lack of self-worth. A lack of self-worth is really the cause of ego. And ego is either low self-esteem or an inflated sense of self. How do you how do you make a person feel a sense of worth? This is really by giving the person autonomy, developing the autonomy of the other person. The most important way to develop autonomy and also enable the person to find a sense of purpose in life, the most important thing is the one at the middle. The one at the middle. You can say autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The sense of purpose, whether with the capital P or a small p, can be better served, and the autonomy can be better respected and given a chance to develop if we are able to Look at the third. Look at the second one. That's the most important, mastery. Enable the person to master something. To master something, either a trade, a kind of art, skill. The moment the person masters something, this person can use that to achieve a sense of purpose and can give the person a sense of autonomy because he will be the master of something. So the second term is the most important one. Allow this person to master something, at least one specialization. And Jacques Barzun, Robert Trigger, says that we have to master not only one, but two things. We have to master at least two things. We have to be very good in at least two things. Okay, but we have to begin with one. So mastery of self begins with mastering a particular kind of skill. Self-mastery means achieving autonomy and achieving a sense of purpose, but both hinge on mastery of a particular skill, specialize in something. We give a person, we have a child, encourage this person to develop a skill in singing, art, sports, uh, gardening, whatever, any kind of skill. Because it's writing skill um, or communication skills or anything that will make this person feel a sense of worth, any kind of skill will be very good for the person. And that will be found by the parents. I will encourage the persons to find the skill of their children. And the best way to do this, or to help the best way to help the children find their own skill is to expose them to all kinds of activities, all kinds of challenges. According to uh, Gilbert Hyatt, the best way to develop the genius of a child is give this child constant challenges, and bring this child in contact with eminent minds, either in actual, by bringing this person, your child in actual contact with this eminent mind, or through movies, through videos, or through books. So I'll repeat, constant challenge, give your child constant challenge, or uh, make your child, give your child contact with eminent minds. And this will be the most important recipes for making the child find his own genius. It's like exposing if you expose the child to all kinds of events, activities, all kinds of stimuli, basically they'll give a chance to the child to find what he's most interested in. Because look, if you give the child only three colors, okay, red, yellow, blue, well, one of these colors might be more interesting, but this may not really be the one really liked by your child. Well, so give the child 64 colors. And I'm sure if there are more colors, the child will find what is most interested in among these 64. The more choices, the more chances that the child will find out what he is most interested in, and this will give the child a chance to to develop a skill according to that interest. Yan ang advice ko. Pag
Wow.
in-expose ka sa maraming bagay, mas madali mo makikita yung pinakagusto mo. Kung ano yung pinakagusto mo, you can develop your skill along that line. And this is one of the best ways to discipline the child, because you're disciplining the child according to the inner force. You don't need external discipline anymore. Hindi
Yeah.
mo na kailangan pagsabihan. Siya na mismo ang magde-develop. I am very proud to say that one of my children at least, develop in this manner. Sila lang bahala, hindi ko na tinuruan. Sila lang hanap ng sarili nilang inner muse inner drive.
Well, we are persuaded, Prof. Napaka, nag-e-echo yata ako. Napakaganda ng topic and
What's that?